Are we live? It says we are preparing to live stream this meeting, and I bet we're live. So, hello, everyone.
Are we
Thank
live?
you
It
for
says
coming. Yeah.
we are preparing.
So, we are live, and let me get this up. So, yes, it's Shri and I. We're here to talk to you, everyone, about what's going on for the new year of 2025. We love to do these recordings or these live ones, so everyone can ask questions. And I know everyone's got a lot of questions on what's going to be happening in the new year. So we're here to help take all your questions. And I want to welcome everyone here, but most of all, I want to welcome my dear friend and partner, Shri Ram. She is an amazing Vedic
Thank
astrologer.
you, Joni.
She, we work so well together. Shri and I are just, we're best friends aside from everything else. And we're here together to help you understand things. She sees things from a different viewpoint than I do. So you're going to get two top astrologers telling you what the future holds. So do we already have some questions coming in? We do.
We have so many people overflowing love here, right? Happy New Year. Hello. And I mean, this is just a wonderful group of people, Joni. I just love coming on YouTube like this because everybody's just so positive and, you have everybody celebrating here on the comments. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can. I can actually. I've got it. I've got everything pulled up all at the same time where I can see that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll be with you in answering questions for a change. Usually I can't see it, but I can see it now. All right, guys. So happy New Year, everyone. This is going to be a great year. And one thing I keep telling everyone, this is a year where everything is going to come to an end. So you think it's like all about endings, but really this is preparing us for the new beginning. So it's like everything's coming to a head. All the things that you've been wanting and hoping would finally come to a conclusion are going to be concluded this year. So that is powerful. And a lot of
And we have the question about the fires in California already, Joni. So
I knew that was going to be this is happening right now. And
yeah.
what would be the planet that you look for when you're looking for fires? Mars. Mars is
Yeah.
the planet that you look for. So Shri, you want to go ahead and pull up the charts? So we're going to start pulling up charts
We
right away.
already prepared because we knew you guys were going to ask these specific questions. So we have all the charts ready to go and we wanted to answer all your questions. So, pour out your questions on the chat. And before we start, I want to also make sure I say thank you, Joni, for doing this because it's not easy. I know you have a long day full of readings, and then you come in the evening and you try to do a live with YouTube because you want to help others and answer everybody's questions. So we always appreciate that. So you're amazing. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And if I didn't think it was a lot of fun, I couldn't do it. And
I
one thing
know.
I always tell people, one thing about my job is I love what I do. And I'm so fortunate
Beautiful.
a job that I love doing because every day I feel like I'm helping people and it's so rewarding and it's the best job in the world. So,
I agree. I'm right with you on that. All right. So I'm going to start the Parashara slide so we can start looking at all these transits. And let me just close this here. I don't know, Joni, when I share the screen, if it's going to show the speaker on the side or not. I don't know how you have it set up.
I have it set up like that. It should show. So,
Okay.
there.
So here's the chart. So we are going to talk about the inauguration too. That's coming in a couple of weeks. But right now we have this really, it's really sad what's going on in California, I think, because with all the fires and people were caught unawares and, it's just so much destruction going on there. I saw it today and my heart went out to them. So first, let's send our healing thoughts and prayers to all the people impacted in this event and
Yeah.
hope that this, gets resolved very quickly.
Mhm.
But Joni, we were talking about this before the YouTube, and we were looking at Mars, right? And that's, I think, one of the major indicators, like you said, of fire. You teach that in the first semester of the university, what each of these planets stand for.
Right.
And, one of the things I noticed, first of all, when we look at these transits, we see what Mars is aspecting in the chart of United States. So you have Mars here at 4 degrees of Cancer, debilitated because it's in Cancer, so it's in the weakest position it can be in. Retrograde, even weaker, right? And then it's going backwards. And if you look at United States chart, and this is what I was kind of wondering, and I wanted to ask you if this is what is causing it, because in United States chart, we have Mercury retrograde at 3 degrees of Cancer. You have Pluto here at 6 degrees, which of course we also have the Pluto return stuff going on. So do you think this is it, or is there something in California's chart?
Yes, I pulled up a chart for Los Angeles. It didn't make as much sense as the United States chart. So it's really about how this is going to impact the United States. And, the eighth house is the house of death and destruction. And it's the most difficult house of all. And it does deal with major financial issues. So this Mars hitting Mercury in the
Yeah.
eighth house is going to have major financial repercussions for the United States. I mean, this is going to cost trillions of dollars for the country. And then again, Mercury, it rules the 10th house. So it really does reflect a lot about the government too, and what's
Mhm.
going on with the government with all of this. Because I think I heard something to the effect where there wasn't enough water that they needed. And what's interesting is a lot of people have already cited this, but this is very similar to what happened in Maui.
Yeah.
Such total destruction to some of the most beautiful and expensive places on earth. Seriously, that's what's going on. And this is being destroyed right now. And it's just Mars is the culprit here. So in the eighth house, this makes total sense what's going
So
on.
then, Joni, don't you think that by the time Mars gets very close to leaving Cancer, or at least a little further away from these degree points, in about a week from now, it should start getting resolved? Because right now they're saying they don't know what's going on. It doesn't seem to be, um, there's no end date, so to speak, right? Everybody's evacuating.
Right,
But I feel like when the degree, you always talk about the orb of the aspect, right? It
yeah,
has to, especially with a fast moving planet like Mars, it has to be pretty much on that degree point, or, within like a plus or minus 2 degree mark, right? Or even 1 degree sometimes.
right.
So in about a week from now, it should be further enough away from that Mercury, and I'm thinking things should start getting resolved. Is that what you're thinking too?
Absolutely, absolutely. You learned so well, Shri. My best student ever. So
Well, this is all your first semester, right? In the university, you talk about the planets and the signs, and when we start talking about all the planets congregating in Pisces, you taught us that Pisces is to do with the deep, dark waters. So, that's why we start talking about water-related incidents. So we are coming to that, but this is your teaching, Joni. So, it's amazing. All
yeah,
right, so that's one of the things we were looking at. Other things about this California, I was also looking at that Pluto, Joni. I know Pluto is very slow moving. It's been there at that degree mark for a really long time, but it should be kind of adding to this kind problem, because financial things, right? Like you were saying, it's in the second house in United States chart. So that's all about a big upheaval financially and economy wise.
yes, this is going to have a major repercussion with this. It has to, because the eighth house is big money, ruled by the government. Mercury rules the 10th, and it's in the eighth house. The 10th house, by the way, is the government and the leaders of
Mhm.
the government in a chart. And with Mercury going to the eighth house of well, just dire things happening, endings, but it's also a house of corruption. So I think from a lot of this, we're still uncovering a lot of the corruption that's been going on
Yeah.
worldwide. And
You know,
that's a lot of the purging and what's coming up this year too.
it is because, somebody, and you just spoke about it, Joni, and I guess it's a synchronicity because somebody on YouTube said about insurance companies and scams with insurance companies in California. And that's eighth house, right? Insurance and insurance money. Yeah.
It is. The eighth house actually rules insurance companies. That's interesting. Yeah.
And with Mars being there, that's probably why it's exposing it. And see, eighth house is where things are hidden. And when transits happen, it exposes the corruption, like Joni was saying. So I guess in a way, this event, as sad as it is, and with the destruction that's happening, at the end of this, a lot of these, corruption and scams are going to be exposed.
Exactly.
People are not going to be quiet. In Mars being retrograde, debilitated in Cancer, everybody's upset,
Right. With good reason. Absolutely. So, Mars is anger. Yeah. It's really bringing out the anger and the hostility about all the corruption and, really the greed that's been going on in this world for so long. There's been
Yeah.
so much money put out for so many different things with no idea of who's really receiving it and what it's going towards. And that looking at this chart, it's all about the corruption. Pluto
Yeah.
Pluto aspecting Mars Pluto opposition really triggered things. And
Mhm.
that happened like the New Orleans event. It's like the New Orleans event was main news. Now all of a sudden we got something even more horrific replacing that. It's like, when does it end? There's one event after another. It's almost like we're numb to these horrific events that keep happening in our world.
Yeah, the New Orleans event, you're right. When it happened, I just pulled the date back. It was exact Mars Pluto. You predicted that on your YouTube too, I believe.
right. And here's the thing. It's always when it's within a 3-degree orb. It's not
Mhm.
has to be exactly on that day, but it's going to be within a week of that day of the
Yeah.
major predictions.
Plus or minus. Yeah, very, very true. And somebody also was saying on YouTube, which I think this is also very interesting, about the nodes being trining the
Yes,
Mars and the Ketu, and
right.
pretty much to that same degree, right? So if I go to the 8th, which is today, 6 degrees, 6 degrees, almost 5 degrees, and then 7 degrees. So they
Yeah.
are also trining the Mars and Ketu, which this is a very fated event, right? And the nodes are also in the fourth house of homeland,
Mhm.
right? So something's happening within the homeland. This is not about external threats.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Right. So yeah. And and I wrote about that Rahu and Ketu, where Ketu's trining Pluto and Rahu's trining Mars. That
Mhm.
is like deep, dark loss.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just about the New Orleans thing, but now we have this. This is like these aspects when they hit, things are in effect for a while following. So it's a no wonder something like this happened. But it was so sudden. That is something that's very interesting. And what I think is going on is, how I've been talking about how each of the full moons since November to April will end up being 29 degrees. Well, I happened to notice that when I was looking at the month of February, because I've already filmed my YouTubes for February and written my newsletter. I have to do it way in advance. I'm too busy to do it the day before. So I noticed though that full moon, I believe it's going to be in Cancer. That full moon in February is going to be 29 degrees of Cancer. Of course, that's Gandanta, which means things are out of control. But it is also going to be squaring Uranus, 29 degrees. So the moon and the sun on the day of the full moon in February will be in a perfect T square with Uranus. So take that to, no, the moon being, move it back 29 degrees. Notice that the sun and the moon opposing each other, but that's the full moon, but notice Uranus. There you go. Look at that square, that perfect T-square with the sun, the moon, and Uranus. Uranus is sudden, unexpected events.
Yeah.
And so, and it's usually things that unpredictable, like crazy things that we couldn't even think of. And I think 29 degrees also in the zodiac is the last degree of a sign. So it brings things to completion. So something's being completed. And I think with the moon being 29 degrees in the United States chart in the eighth house, it's like, this is it, guys. All of the corruption and all of the greed and all the things that have been going on, it's going to be exposed. And it's good because that brings a healing. And we can start out on a different foot and have a new world, of a new way of doing things that's not a part of all this corruption anymore. So it's good that this healing's happen. So are there any questions we should take note of?
Oh, yeah. Somebody asked about the drones. Let me go pull this date back.
So the drones, I want, here's the drones have been going on for a long time though,
Yeah, it's I think started back in November or something, right around the time, right after the elections. Let me see. And I'm thinking that could have something to do with that Shatabhishak. Um, Although, Mars being retrograde, doesn't that actually signify military and those kind of things, Joni? Like
There,
surveillance, military?
yeah, there's so much we don't know about that's happening underneath, behind the scenes that is very secret. Remember, it's a secretive and scandalous, those kind of things with Mars
Mm,
being there in the 11th house. And yes, Mars is like close to Rahu in the United States chart. So,
right there. Yeah.
yeah.
In
So,
the eighth house of secrets and scandals and
exactly.
mysterious things happening, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know. I mean, looking at I always see debilitated retrograde Mars in the charts of people who are in military or in some sort of service, right? And I always feel like it's got to do with, you know, the army or the navy or whatever, and they must be testing something out. Whenever I see that Mars in Cancer, that's what my mind goes to.
Yeah, good. That's what it's about. It's absolutely about that. So there's something that's not right. And
Mm,
here's another thing I kept mentioning. We're going to find problems, and personally, all of you, with your families. So, not getting along with family because Mars, in Cancer, Cancer represents family. And this is the family unit is what gives our world stability, and we don't have it right now. That's what it means. Yeah. And it's also played havoc on the housing markets too, and the interest rates. I'll give it that too. But well, Mars is debilitated. Mars is actually the planet that rules real estate in Vedic astrology.
yeah.
So, yeah. So what
All right.
else?
So I'm looking to see if there were any other questions about any of this before we move to the next topic. Let's see. All right. Somebody said drones are Neptune related. I mean, it is shrouded in secrecy, right? That's Neptune.
Mhm.
Um,
And Neptune's lining up with Rahu. So this is extreme. And this is like, a lot of extreme secrets and deception and lies that have been kept for so long. And they can't keep it any longer. They're trying, but they can't keep it much longer. Everything's about to come out. And a lot of people think that the drones have something to do with aliens. I think they're the government. I really do.
mm,
Yeah.
I do too. Somebody asked when Mars goes direct. I'm going to give the exact date. I know it's sometime 22 degrees of Gemini. That I know. It's in the end of
It's
February, isn't
February
it? Yeah,
23rd,
right there.
23rd, yeah. So, yeah, and And of course, that is a huge big day because Mars will station on the sun in the United States chart, 22
Yeah.
degrees. And the sun in the United States chart, in any country's chart, the sun represents the president. So Mars, Mars aspecting the sun means attacks on the president. Now, this could be figuratively or literally. So,
Mhm.
but this will definitely be the case around February 23rd. Mhm. Yes.
I
So,
agree. And also, Joni, isn't the Mercury, the ruler of the 10th house in United States chart, that also would stand for the ruler of the country, right? Because it's the 10th ruler.
but right now we have a different president. So he's going to feel a sense of attack and betrayal
Attack. Yeah, you're right.
because Mars is on Mercury and Biden is now our president. So regardless what you think about the presidents, that's irrelevant. We just look at whoever is the president, that's who this chart will
So
represent.
after inauguration, it's the new president who the chart affects, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. All right, so I think that's it. Let's go to the next topic. About, I didn't know if anybody wanted to know about Trudeau and Canada. I saw a couple of questions earlier.
Oh, I see
Uh,
there says welcome Canada.
Yeah, we talked about this in the 2025 predictions too. I mean, that Mars right there, 6 degrees, right?
Yeah.
And, and one of the things that we talked about in the 2025 predictions is the stellium of planets that are congregating together in Pisces around the end of March, all the way into April. And that's a big deal because it starts with what, about 7 planets?
Yeah.
And then it goes down to 6 for a long time. And then it kind of dissipates, the energy dissipates towards May of 2025.
Mhm.
So a lot of these charts we were looking at, who has planets there, 2 degree to about that 4 or 5 degree mark. And of course, he has that Mars at 6 degrees.
Mhm.
And, with Mars, it's Mars being affected in his chart. It is the ruler of the second house of speech. And I've not been following the news, but is there anything in terms of, did he have like any angry outbursts or anything like that? Do you know, Joni?
I don't know, but I bet a lot of our Canadian people here will let us know.
Yeah, because that's one thing I noticed because I don't think this is it. Once we get into that April time frame and all those planets come together here,
I'm in
which,
total agreement. Mhm. Yes,
it's probably going to take on a new shape altogether because this is crazy. I don't know. I mean, I've never seen this before in a chart. Have you?
I have. I have seen this before,
Was
but
this in the 1962 time frame? Is that the one you're talking about?
there's been other times, and when we talk about the cycle of Venus, well, when Venus went retrograde in Pisces before, I think it brought out a lot of this. Of course, this was 8 years ago, but
Mhm.
a lot of this. But this is a big difference, and I'll tell you why. With all those planets being there in Pisces, well, Venus is exalted and it's going to go retrograde. It's going to light up the sky. By the way, if you guys don't get my free newsletter where I'm telling you all these dates and fun things going on in the sky, I'm just going to tell you right now that February 1st, look up to the sky. If it's not cloudy where you are, you're going to see a beautiful show of the moon conjunct Venus. Because on February 1st, Sheree, look at the chart. Go to February 1st if you can. It's beautiful. Um, because Venus is going to be 3 degrees conjunct Rahu, conjunct Neptune. And so there's 4 planets. It's going to be the moon, Venus, Rahu, and Neptune,
Wow.
all 3 degrees. Look at that right there. So when the moon
And
joins,
that Parivartana.
yes, yes, that's the other thing that makes this Venus special. But notice, like on that day, you put it up about 4 hours, and you'll see the moon aligns with Venus. And this is a wonderful, beautiful day. As a matter of fact, I did a whole YouTube video on this day. I want everyone to put their intentions out because this is a mystical spiritual day with the moon conjunct Neptune, Venus, and Rahu. Whatever your intentions are, you can truly manifest some miracles on this day. This is remarkable, truly. And then, like what you were going to, I'm making you do all this work going back and forth, but what you were going to with that eclipse that happens on March 29th, you will have the sun, the moon, and Venus, Neptune, Rahu.
And I think, Joni, before we go to that, since we are on Feb 1st, I think we should talk about Feb 6th.
Okay.
Because remember, that's that date that is really auspicious. So if anybody wanted to start something new, or any new businesses, or if you had some new ventures that you're starting, this is a beautiful date because that moon is exalted with Jupiter, and Jupiter has gone direct on Feb 4th. That's a big deal. And you notice how this nice little parivartana is forming here, and Joni starting the university on that day.
Yes. So it's funny because Shri and I, we always look at good days to start things. And she said, well, I found this date that I want to begin my classes on February, I think you said 7th or something. And I said, no, February 6th is even better because the moon is in Rohini. And so anyway, we talked it all out. We decided it's the best day to start semester 1 for the university. She's going to put her class on a different day. She's really sweet. She surrendered because she teaches for the university and she is so dedicated to UVA, the University of Vedic Astrology.
It's all on the same platform, Joni. I don't think of it as separate, but this is really a beautiful day to start the university. And I hope, just by looking at this particular alignment, I think we're going to have a huge class this time starting because this is beautiful and a very, very auspicious day, Feb 6th. And we'll talk more about the university in a little bit, but I think I cut you when you were talking earlier, so I wanted to go back to that. So March 29th, right? Isn't that what you were talking about?
So the only difference that involves March 29th is that we have the sun and the moon, the sun joins the moon in Pisces. But the most important thing that makes this so auspicious during this time is what you mentioned, the Parivartana, which is where Venus is in Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So they're in each other's signs of rulership. That connects these planets amazingly. And what I think this means, y'all are going to love this. This is going to be a financial boom. Everything is going to take off really from February through March. And it's kind of like right before Saturn goes into Pisces that the stock markets and everything are going to go out the roof. So it is a great time to invest, everybody. So if there's something that you've always wanted to invest in and you think it's a good price right now, at this time, it's going to, take off and boom. But then when Saturn comes in, which is the last day of March, it's going to change the energy somewhat. So between March 29th, and it's so interesting because the day of the eclipse, that day, the eclipse happens earlier in the day or in the evening, but then like about an hour or so later after the eclipse, Saturn joins.
It's at 29 degrees when the eclipse is happening.
Yeah. And then it moves in with all those planets. And, Saturn's going to add a little bit of a, sense of responsibility, maybe slow things down a little bit. So I think, February and most of March is going to be kind of like the roaring 20s in a way.
The economy is going to be doing great, and financially, everything. I think people were asking questions about the economy and the financial markets, and this is definitely a time when things will be doing amazing. Until Saturn joins the party, of course, but
Yeah.
because that could put a little bit of a break on things. Although I have to say, that Parivartana, Joni, that's amazing. And not to mention, every time Venus is there for a long time this time, isn't it? About 4 months or so.
Yeah. And here's the thing, both Jupiter and Venus are the planets of money.
Yeah.
And they're both, related to each other in a powerful, powerful way. So I always say Venus is a planet of billionaires, Jupiter is a planet of millionaires, and they're exchanging. So this is what makes this lineup so much more powerful, the placement of Jupiter. And if you'll look from Jupiter, all those planets are actually 11th from Jupiter, which even
Great gains. Yeah.
a great, expansion and gains. So after all this treachery that we're going through this month of January, we will have light, but it's not going to remain there. So just, this is going to be a roller coaster ride year, but do take advantage of February, March while you can.
And then that Rahu in your money book, Joni, you talk about all those lottery winners with the Rahu and the Jupiter stuff going on. And of course, Rahu is sitting with the Venus, exalted Venus in that Parivartana with Jupiter, which amplifies it,
Yeah.
all of this. And we also were talking about all this happening in Pisces, while Pisces has the meaning of higher knowledge and enlightenment and spirituality and all of that. I do think that's going to be big this year with a lot of groups and communities and causes and things like that forming throughout the year.
Mhm.
But it also rules the water, right? And we were talking about water-related incidents which could happen once we get into the April-May timeframe. Accidents in the water, submarines and things like that, because this is the deep, dark water. That's what Pisces is.
Yes. And you know what else it could actually mean? That we're going to make some discoveries in the water.
Yeah.
Okay. They have seen a lot of spaceships that go shooting in and out of the oceans.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably, they say we know less about the bottom of the oceans than we do about space.
Yeah. And Joni, are you saying that because Neptune is there, because that's the secrecy and everything's getting exposed?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
And here's another thing, well, we're going to get to the summer months, but when Saturn aligns more with, well, it's already there at the end of the month of March, but there's going to be so many changes that are about to happen. But let me say this while I'm thinking about it. For 2 months, Saturn and Rahu will be together, okay, in Pisces. And for those of you that read all my work, I constantly am talking about the last time, when we go back historically, when was the last time that Saturn and Rahu were together in Pisces? Now they come together every 11 years, right? But not in a particular sign. So the last time they were in Pisces together was 1968. And what bothers me about that time period was there was two major assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Bobby Kennedy. So we have to be very cautious about this. Now, this isn't just about the United States. This can be happening anywhere in the world, assassinations during that window of time from March 29th to May 29th. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Saturn Rahu. And then after that, Rahu moves out. So that's why you're saying it's 2 months.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So on May 29th, Rahu will go into Aquarius and Ketu will go into Leo. Now is the time I've got to mention my new book because this just came out within the last few weeks. It's called World Predictions 2024 to 2042.
I'm going
Because
to stop share so people can see your book.
yeah, here. This is my new book. It's out on Amazon now. You can go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org, and you can click on it there, or you can go straight to Amazon. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it right now is because what we do as astrologers is we go back historically to see what happened before. And what what I did in this book was, I know you guys, if you followed me long enough, have heard me talk about the cycle of Rahu and Ketu and how every time they went into a particular sign, which was Rahu in Gemini and Ketu in Sagittarius, that something catastrophic always happened. And actually, in this book, which I wrote in 2017, Rahu and Ketu, that was where I first started putting Rahu and Ketu across all the different signs. So Rahu and Ketu stay in a sign for 18 months. So it's for a year and a half that they stay in one sign. But for them to go through all 12 signs, it takes 18 and a half years. And to make a long story short, what I discovered was after 9/11, I went back to the last time that Rahu and Ketu, Rahu was in Gemini and Ketu in Sag. It was 1982. That was the AIDS virus. Then I went back 18 and a half years prior to that, and that was 1963. That was the assassination of Kennedy. Then I went back one more time, 1945, 18 and a half.
World War II.
And no, it wasn't World War II. It was the bombing of Hiroshima. So it was actually
Hiroshima. Yeah.
bringing the war to an end, but that's what it was on that date. And here's the thing, in my book, Rahu and Ketu, I predicted in 2020 we would have an event that would change the world forever. And the COVID virus hit. So I thought, I better write this book before the next time that Rahu goes into Gemini and Ketu goes into Sagittarius, just in case I'm not here, so people can prepare. And so what I discovered, it's going to be 2038. That's going to be worse than all the other ones, because on that day, which I call it an explosive event, it's somewhere in May in 2038 that Jupiter, Uranus, Rahu, and Mars all align in Gemini. And that's got to be an unexpected, explosive event that will change the world, even more so than the other events. But in the process of looking at where Rahu and Ketu are, and in this book, I align it with the outer planets, the 3 outer planets, because they are so predictive. They really do predict world events. Because remember this, everyone, that when you have the outer planets in a particular sign, such as Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years, and Neptune for 12 years, Pluto for 12 to 30 years. It's elliptical orbit. It stays in a sign sometimes a lot longer when it gets further away from the sun. But here's the deal. These planets form generations. And as these planets make aspects to each other, such as during the time of the 1960s, we had Uranus and Pluto together. And that was all the rebellion that happened in the 60s, assassinations, Vietnam War. I mean, crazy things happened because of that conjunction. And even I went back to another interesting time, which was the end of the 1800s, when we had Pluto and Neptune came together. And that produced the spiritualist movement. And people were all doing seances and believed in spirit. Actually, Lincoln even had seances in the White House back then. So you see, these outer planets depict major world changes. But the one thing that I have discovered about them, they actually deal with the conscious awareness on planet Earth, how evolved we may be consciously on Earth. As these planets evolve, they also bring up and change human consciousness. So in other words, it's the evolution of human consciousness, because, you know, if you went back to the Middle Ages and showed them an iPhone, they couldn't get it. Their consciousness there. But these outer planets really do deal with that. So putting those together with Rahu and Ketu, and then, you know, when you put those together with Rahu and Ketu, they may be there for a whole year and a half, right? Because Rahu and Ketu are in a sign for a year and a half. But it's Mars that comes along and triggers the events. That's why I said in 2038, when Mars joins all of those planets together, that's when the event will happen. And that's what happened with COVID. That's what happened
9/11.
11, always Mars was the triggering planet. So, or a particular, another faster moving planet, but Mars is usually the trigger. So these are how we make our predictions. We go back historically and see what happened before. Therefore, we can make our predictions about the future. And Shri and I work together talking about different years. She helped me actually figure out some of these years. And one thing I'm going to throw at you right now is 2030 is another year of extremes. I don't know if it's going to be worse in 2038. It is
It
really,
is 2030 to 2031, Joni. I talked about that constantly on my YouTube. It's that Saturn being in Aldebaran, which, every time Saturn is there, every 30 years, there's great destruction that happens. And
right.
then if you noticed, when you did this book on Rahu and Ketu, I noticed the chart in there when, you talked about 2030, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize that. I was always looking just at Saturn. But then you have the Rahu Ketu and the Mars coming in the mix. So that is definitely a major, like, game-changing year, in terms of it's probably going to be a war or something 2030 for sure.
I know, and it's going to have major repercussions on the economy
Yeah.
because we're looking at Scorpio and Taurus opposition, where I think it's going to be K2 in Taurus. Is that
Let me
right?
let me pull that up and
Yeah,
just start
K2 is
sharing.
with Saturn and Uranus. K2, Saturn, Uranus, and yes, and the ancients always said that whenever you have Saturn in Taurus, always detrimental things happen.
They especially said Saturn in Rohini, which
Yes,
is
they
which
did.
is the tough one.
You're right.
There
But
is actually mention in the scriptures in India
it-
about Saturn penetrating Rohini. That's what they said.
exactly
But and that's when the Mahabharata war, in the scriptures, when they talked about the Mahabharata war, that's one of the, observations they made, saying, oh, this is a year of great destruction because Saturn is in Rohini. And
right.
then when you look at the fixed stars, that's where Aldebaran is, and right across is Antares. Both have to do with destruction.
Exactly.
But this time frame with that Rahu Ketu being in the mix, that's just crazy. And then you have Mars coming. I think it'll be a month before this, probably right there. Look at that.
There you go. Mars is the trigger. So that's the time. Uh, I mean, I don't know what's worse, 2038 or 2030. This is really, so this is pretty close, guys. We have to prepare in some way when we're getting close to this. But aside from that, everything's cyclic. We're not here just to talk about doom and gloom because we do have some good things coming up in the next
Mhm.
year or so. So even though this looks pretty bad, but if you get my book, I go over every year and we talk about all of the things that the planets and the cycles will bring to our awareness and consciousness, and hopefully raise consciousness as well.
And that's one of the things with the book you wrote, Joni, because every year we do these predictions, we look at the transits, we go month by month. We never kind of look at, okay, what happened in the past 10 years, so what's coming up in the next 10 years. Your book gives that perspective because it puts that cyclic thing, into picture or into focus. Like, oh, this happened back then and this is what happened. It has so much research in it. It's an amazing book. It's one of a kind. I mean, I haven't seen something like this
Yeah.
before this. So, I mean, I think you did a phenomenal job with it.
Well, here's my big thing these days. My big thing is I want to make Vedic astrology mainstream, guys. And not only that, what is more powerful than knowing the future? If you know the future, this is such a great benefit and it is so empowering. And with astrology, we definitely can know the future and prepare for it for good and bad. So it's all a big cycle, and we have to be in alignment with knowing what's going to happen. And even personally in our lives, we need to know when things are going to be good. So, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction and, all these positive ways of thinking. But the missing component with the positive thinking is using astrology. And a lot of people say, oh, well, through my mind, I can overcome these bad transits. No, there is a better time to do things always. Would you plant the crop that you want to flourish in the middle of winter, or would you do it in spring? I mean, there's
Yeah.
just a better time to do things, and living in accordance with the cyclic patterns. And we're all part of the planets and the cycles. You know, there's a better time to go out and get things done. You wouldn't go out at midnight. You're going to go out at, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. There's just timing is everything. And to use this in accordance with our positive ways of changing our lives and directing our lives is the key. That's what I'm wanting people to really understand, the value of astrology and how we can use it in our daily lives and knowing the future. So that's my big push this year. You're going to see I'm going
And
to.
I can tell you, Joni, since the time I've learned astrology, everything in my life, I look at it in a different perspective. And I know a lot of people here on this live YouTube probably agree with me because they also, at some level, they're interested in astrology. That's why they're here in the live.
Yeah.
And it just helps us see the patterns, the cycles in life, just like your book has.
Yes.
And that's the reason why, this university too. And, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about it because I'm a product of this university. I started learning with Joni in 2009, even before she had the university. But, this entire semester system that this university has, it's so well thought out. It is so structured, so step by step, and it puts everything into context. Like you can understand it's like building blocks. You're building one thing on top of another, layer by layer by layer. And then by the time you get to the last semester, you're reading charts. And I
Mhm.
don't know, Joni, how you came up with the structure, but it works. It's an amazing platform.
It is. I have produced many of great astrologers from the university. And by the time you hit the sixth semester, you're doing the work. You're using every single thing that I taught you in order to, you're going to have to figure out, you're going to be given a chart and you tell us. And if you get it wrong, you have to go back to the drawing board till you get it right. But you tell when someone got married within a 10-year radius, you tell us when somebody came into money, a lot of money in a 10-year radius. You tell us when someone got a new job and what their career should be, and also how you counsel people in an astrology reading. People need counseling when they're going through hard times. And most of all, here's what I want to say. One of the greatest benefits of astrology is that when somebody's going through a really difficult time in their life, that you are able to tell them when it will be over.
Yeah.
That gives people to know when there's light at the end of a tunnel, that gives people hope, and it gives them a sense that they can get through it, and they do. So all of all of these things in the sixth semester, you will be able to do and predict with astrology after you go through all of these semesters. And the fun part about the university is you get to participate in all of my live classes every week, aside from all the pre-recorded ones that you take your tests from. So this is so great. And here's another thing, it never expires. So a lot of my people that have graduated from the university still come and listen to all the live classes because
Yeah, we have people who joined back in 2014 still come back.
that still listen to all the classes because we're a community. We come together, and I usually use a chart of somebody that's in the news, which I noticed somebody said, what about Jimmy Carter? In the next class, we're going to be looking at Jimmy Carter's chart because he's in the news. What in his chart made him the person he was? So we'll be able to analyze and look at that together. So the university, and aside from that, not only do you have a community, but you get a live tutor that will grade your tests and answer all your questions. I don't think there's anything out there like it.
And you have a Telegram. I mean, everybody loves the Telegram platform we have. There are so many people there, all the students
Mhm.
sharing information, talking about charts. And, And in our line of work, that is so important with community because, we can't talk about astrology with regular people who are not interested in astrology. They probably give us a weird look, but, you need that Telegram or that community or like UVA platform where everybody's like-minded and you have that family that you can join and
Yeah.
they all understand you and they want to help you understand astrology. This
Mhm.
is really, truly a major, major platform. I have not seen a course like this before. And I'm not just saying that. I have gone through the university and I graduated. I'm a tutor, and I can tell you how much this has helped me in my life. And, it's tremendous.
Yeah, and well, now Shri has her own platform of Jiminy Astrology and writes her own books, and I support her, and she puts all her classes on the university platform, and you guys will be able to do that too if you want. So
Yeah.
this is just a great opportunity, and I know with Rahu going into Aquarius, into the nakshatra of Shatabishak, that there's going to be more interest in astrology because that's the nakshatra of the sky watcher.
Yeah.
So guys, and by the way, so check it out. If this is interesting to you, check out my university. It starts the semester one.
Right here, Feb 6th at 5:30 p.m.
Yes, that's it. Because this is such a beautiful day to start things. And going back to this Parivartana that's happening in the sky, this empowers this Venus and Jupiter, guys. This will be a magnificent time. Seriously, this is going to be amazing. So you can start with the university at any time. It's just that my live classes for semester one begin on that day. It's all self-paced. You can watch the videos, and if you sign up for the whole university, you get to watch all of the videos I'm doing live all the time, anytime in the future. So it's definitely an amazing opportunity. Let me put it that way. Okay.
Good.
So what else did people want to know about? Let me see. I
So I
noticed.
think we were going to talk about the inauguration. Let me
Let's do
just
that next. And then, but one thing somebody said was about Bitcoin, and I want you to know that Bitcoin's going to be on a rise throughout this year, all the way till through May. Okay, so get ready for that. Pull up the inauguration. There it is. Okay, let's see what we see from this. Now, what's
What I was telling you earlier is that Mars, it's the day after inauguration, it goes into Gemini. How crazy is that? It's like right at that 0 degree mark of Cancer.
right. But what's so interesting to me is if you pull up Donald Trump's chart, that's his Saturn in his 12th house. So that kind of worries me, that something weird could happen. It probably won't. It's probably just, all the stuff that's going on. But seriously, something could happen, some kind of delay or setback, because his Saturn sits at 0 degrees of Cancer. And that's where Mars will be on that day. That's really weird. And the 12th house is a house of losses and difficulty. So we'll see what happens that day. It looks bizarre.
And
So
what about this, Joni? Look at that. That's Venus and Saturn very, very close.
I saw that. And here's another thing. The moon. The moon is at 24 degrees. Look at where Saturn is in the United States chart. In the 10th house,
24 degrees right there.
There is something big happening on this day, guys. There is something about to happen on this day that is monumental change because the moon is the planet of change. How and why is it exactly in the 10th house of the United States chart? That is bizarre. Okay. So Inauguration Day is, I mean, a heavy duty day. A lot is going on. And we often talked about the fact is going to that Pluto sun. What's so interesting is Inauguration Day, always the sun will arrive at around 6 degrees of Capricorn because every day the sun is a particular degree. So on January 20th, it's 6 degrees. Look at it. On that day, it's conjunct Pluto.
Mhm.
Oh my God. I mean, like Pluto is radical changes. And, when you pull up the United States chart, that is the transiting Pluto is returning to where it was during the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So there's a Pluto return, but the sun, which represents leaders, is there on it. So that represents some kind of critical and radical change. I
In the
don't know.
structure of the country almost,
Yes,
right? That's because that's what happened last time when 1776, when Pluto was there, the country was formed.
right. Yes. So
And
what do
it
you,
seems very polarizing because I see all these little like double planets like all together, like 6, 7 degrees Sun, Pluto, 22, 23, Venus, Saturn,
uh,
Rahu, Neptune, 3, 4. It seems like they're all in big packets of energy, but
right,
together. You know what I'm saying? It's like the second house of finances and economy, the third house of news and media, and then you have the fourth house of homeland. All of these being affected on that day, not to mention the Mars, it could have been in Gemini if it was a day before or a day after, right? But it's the last degree. It made sure to be in the eighth house.
right.
I'm like, that's transformational.
Right. So, I mean, there could be some major breakouts or protests and also and violent events happening on this day. It's something big is happening, and even if we don't see a big event occurring, there's something brewing underneath the surface with Pluto Sun.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So let's see what other questions there are.
I,
So that
they keep asking.
somebody asked if they can break up the payments of the university. I forget, Joni. Did we set that up?
Yes, we did. We did.
Okay,
So if they will get with us, we have devised a payment plan. Yes, that they can do that. Because remember, we searched around for such a long time for a company that would help us with that, and we finally did it. So the answer is yes to that. Mhm.
good. All right. And then let me look at the other questions here. Real estate.
Yeah.
Everybody's asking about real estate.
Yes. So here's the thing, guys. Mars being in Cancer has really made real estate suffer. And it's going to be finally when it goes direct, which will be actually in Gemini when it turns direct. That will be, of course, February 23rd. But things will start to improve with real estate. It won't be perfect yet, but once Mars goes direct, it's still got to go through Cancer again. But once it goes into Leo, which will be around, I think the 1st of June. Yeah,
June. Yeah.
the 1st of June, things will start to change and get better. But I'll tell you, if you can wait 1 year, it will be remarkable. The real estate market will be back full force. I promise you. When Jupiter goes into Cancer, and Jupiter will touch into Cancer, by the way, this will be like
October.
October 18th till December 5th. I looked it up just today. And when it does, this will be the beginning of a golden age where there'll be clear vision of what's to come. We'll get to that in just a minute because we still have to cover what's going to be happening in the summer months. But see that Jupiter basically stays in a sign per year. So May 14th, it's going to go into Gemini, which will definitely bring out a lot of things with aviation and new discoveries and communications. We've already seen all the stuff with, Mark Zuckerberg and everything today where
And technology. Yeah.
yeah, so many things are changing, and the truth is coming out about how we've been censored all this time. I don't care who your political likes are. None of us want to be censored. It's ridiculous. What kind of government do we have that's censoring us all the time and doing all these things where our privacy is invaded? Well, all of this is coming out, especially with Jupiter being in Gemini. Gemini rules communications. So, there'll be a healing to this all. But Jupiter is going to be moving really fast. It's going to, in 5 months, June through October, no, May through October, it's going to go through the whole sign of Gemini. Then it goes into Cancer for just from, like I said, October 18th to December 5th, but it's only 0 degrees and it's stationing. But what's really important about that degree, I think it's very uncanny that that is where Trump's Saturn is at 0 degrees of Cancer. So I think this can mean that, after the Mars is going to be there right now at inauguration, setting him out with a very difficult start. It's not going to be easy, but something happens that could actually heal things and somehow make them better. I don't know.
By October. Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like Trump, and that's okay. I understand. But there's something about this that Jupiter on a Saturn will give opportunities to change things for the better. Okay. So but even after this, going into, so Jupiter's going to go back into Gemini where it's going to stay and it's going to do some amazing things for cleaning up communications and travel, new ways of travel, and the travel industry is going to really change in a positive way during this time. But then by June 1st of 2026, and for approximately a year following that, Jupiter's going to be in Cancer. And when it's in Cancer, for about a year, it's going to be the golden age. I'm telling you, the real estate market, everything is going to take off remarkably. People are going to be able to afford things. There's going to be new, the government, the economy, happiness, togetherness with family, all this fighting and contention and craziness in politics is going to go away during this time. I'm telling you guys, Jupiter in Cancer is its exaltation sign, and I call this the golden age. It's on its way.
And the old way of living, right, Joni, with the family values and the family structure and all of that, because with Saturn trining it too, it's very traditional and conservative. And, this is actually going to bring back a really good sense of structure and family in society.
It's going to be great. And even though while Jupiter is in Gemini, which is, basically except for that 2 months that it's in Gemini from May of 2025 to June of 2026, it's going to be in an aspect to Rahu. It's going to be trining Rahu, and that's another indication of an economic boom that's going to be going on. So everything with money in the economy is looking good, except for the summer months. Let's go there now, Shri. Let's talk about that.
That August time frame.
I'm sorry, for those of you in Australia, I call it summer. It's your winter. Forgive me. So what we're talking about is June through September, okay? Yeah.
I think this is the main one you're talking about, right? July.
Out in July. So Mars and K2 come together around 25 degrees of Leo, okay? And that's dangerous. Mars and K2 deal with terrorism. And in the fire sign Leo, this could even be more fires, more ablaze and fires. I hate to see that because of, right now what's going on and what happened in Maui is just fires are so horrible and scary. But I'm seeing this could be an outbreak of war or fires. And I've told everybody, wherever you have Leo in your chart, look out, this could be a time of, that where you need to lay low. If it's If it's in your second house, be careful of your spending. If it's in your third house, be careful of your brothers and sisters, that kind of thing. So, but is anything else you see with this Mars K2?
And the thing with Mars K2, Joni, I know Mars Rahu is explosive anger and violence and things like that. I feel like Mars K2 is more dangerous than that because it's restricted and then it just explodes because it can't take it any longer,
It is. You're
So
right.
it's really, and I think even during 9/11, we had Mars K2 together, didn't we?
We did. You're right. Exactly. So this is a time to be careful. But
And the
all
other thing, you were asking me if there's anything else. It's this one over here, 7 degrees.
Yes. So the whole 3 months, June, July, August, we have Saturn and Neptune at 7 degrees of Pisces.
Both retrograde,
I know.
going back together.
I know. So this is important because Saturn rules crude oil and Neptune rules oil and gas. You put
Mhm.
those together with all the drilling that's going to be going on, we're going to have some massive, crazy earthquakes, and we're going to have a lot of oil spills and
And accidents of, at oil rigs and things like that.
so probably some explosions around oil rigs or pipelines, things like that are going to be extraordinarily dangerous because also when Mars is around 7 degrees of Leo, it's going to be aspecting that Saturn Neptune. I forgot when that is. When is that? That is in June, I believe. So that's when I think is the most dangerous time for explosions and earthquakes. Yes, there you go. So Mars by its eighth aspect, this is what around June 19th, y'all be aware that some kind of explosive events concerning oil and gas, oil spills, or, something at rigs or the pipelines. This could be explosive.
Or
Okay.
the planning for something that could happen in July because the planets are not retrograde yet. I think the retrograde planets bring out the event.
Yeah.
And this could be more of the behind the scenes planning because of that Neptune,
Yeah. So we'll see. So June and July, y'all be careful. And this will, of course, have repercussions on the economy. So, hey, here's the thing. If the economy does go down, the stock market and everything, hey, it's a time to invest because it's going
Invest.
to go right back up during the golden age. All right. So this
All
is,
right. Let me see if there are any other questions. Let's see.
yeah, let's see.
Gas prices. Somebody asked about gas prices.
I don't, everyone's expecting them to go down. I think they're going to go up. You know why, Shri? Whenever I see Mars aspecting Neptune, fuel prices always go up. So there's something that's going to happen that causes them to go up. Maybe they'll go down a little bit in the spring when we have that big economic boom. And then we're going to have some major setbacks during this time. Yeah. So, all right. What other questions do we have?
Let me see. Jupiter is pretty lucky. Could be changes around partnerships. Nicole asked that question. And
Oh,
I don't know. I think she was asking it with regard to Jupiter going in Cancer.
that what now?
Whether Jupiter would be lucky for changes in partnerships.
Well, it really depends on everyone's individual birth chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
somebody
maybe
asked about your YouTube channel. Somebody says, does Shri have her YouTube channel? The answer is yes. Shri, what is your YouTube channel? Tell everybody.
it's Vedic Living, VEDIC LIVING, and then you can just say Shri and you'll get my YouTube channel.
There you go. Y'all go to her YouTube channel as well. It's amazing.
Thank you. All right. Will Canada join the US?
I can't imagine. What do you think, Shri?
Yeah, see, the only reason why I feel about that structural change is that Pluto return. Because when, last time all the states came together and the country was formed. And then now I'm thinking, is that why they're again talking about adding this place and that place? And, even they're talking about Greenland, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening though. I mean, there has to be a lot of major transits in Trump's chart or something that can point us in that direction. I
Yeah.
do see that it's very volatile for Canada and Trudeau, and we already predicted that.
Right, right. In our and by the way, guys, if you want more of this, I did a 6-hour class that you can still buy
I know. That
uh,
was very, very detailed.
yeah, it's on my website, galacticcenter.org, and it for 6 hours we go over all the charts of all the countries, all the world leaders, and what we saw for Justin Trudeau at that time, and we did this the first week of December, something really bad in his chart. So of course he's
Yeah.
stepped down, but I think there's going to be a lot of scandalous stuff come out about him. Horrendous stuff, because when that Saturn Neptune come together in June and July, they're going to be on his Mars in the 8th house.
Exactly, 7 degrees
Yeah.
to the degree.
There is going to be scandals like you can't believe come out about him. And I don't even know any of the stuff that's going on in Canada, to be honest, but I do know his chart does not look good for corruption, scandals, and secrets. It's all coming out for Justin Trudeau. And when I saw that he stepped down, I thought, well, maybe he's stepping down because he knows about a lot of things that are about to be revealed, and he wants to see if he can get away from it all. He's
Yeah.
to get away from it all. So yes. Let's
Let me
see.
see if there are any other questions here. A lot of questions about economy and whether, we'll have a new currency, de-dollarization, reserve currency status. I see many people asked about that.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's that Pluto return too in the second house. I think that's why things are so shaky right now. But I do think, Joey, like you said, when Jupiter comes into Cancer, a lot of that will quiet down. There'll be more of that, stability when it comes to the financial and the economy, and all of that. Don't you think?
I agree totally. It will. It's going to be, I mean, here's the thing. Just imagine this, everyone. This year is a year where everything is coming to a head, and it's all the things that need to come to a head for the ultimate healing, for the golden age of when Jupiter is in Cancer and stays in 2026 and 2027. It's like it's going to be the peaceful and a new beginning. Because, this year of 2025 equals a 9. 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 5 is 9. Nines are coming to an end and completion. So all the things that have been happening will finally come to an end to create a new beginning for what's about to come. So things are going to get so much better, and everything that comes out and is exposed is going to be for the highest good of everyone, a healing. So I'm really excited about it all.
Me
So
too. And a lot, whenever you look at the inauguration chart, and I recently saw about this, Joni, you talked about it in one of the classes. The inauguration chart is the birth chart for the next 4 years. So it's
yes,
like a person who has a 4-year lifespan, right? And you look at the birth chart, that's what tells us what the 4 years is going to be like. If you look at each of the president's inauguration chart, when I was writing the book, I was looking at Bill Clinton's, the second term. His second term inauguration chart was very telling as to
yeah.
what happened during that time. So was Nixon's. And
Mhm.
then if you look at this inauguration chart, you see the changes, the transformation that Sun, Pluto, that combination. Then you have Mars just in that last degree going back into Gemini, it's in the 8th house. This is a very transformative year. And, transformation is always tricky, right? It's not something that people accept very easily. But then it does bring that healing because Jupiter is going into Cancer. This is all lined up perfectly. It's a perfect design.
It is. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to. And that's the way everything always is. So, one thing I want to go back to, somebody was asking about whether Jupiter in Cancer is good for relationships. And my answer was, it depends on your chart. How can you get your own chart? And I'm so excited because let me just say this, Shri helped me so much with this. The Galactic Planner I know you guys hear me talk about it, but if you haven't tried it, I want you to try it. Give me your feedback because we have been writing all of the translations of what the planets mean, hitting natal planets in particular houses. I wrote all of those, but Shri just finished writing all of the dashas, and she actually wrote 10,000. How many translations did you write, Shri?
10,176.
Thank
I
you.
was writing continuously for so many months just to get to that point,
So,
because every single planet, multiplied by the number of antardashas that you can have, multiplied by which houses they fall in. I mean, we went into the depths with this one. It is not just, here's your Mahadasha, this is what it means for the next 20 years, right? We are
Right.
telling you exactly based on your chart, which houses those planets fall in, which signs they fall in, and what that means for you. I mean, it was a lot of work, but it was very rewarding because I learned so much in the process.
I know. I told her she would learn so much in the process because I wrote all the translations of all the planets through the houses hitting the natal planets. So one thing I want you guys to know, this is not AI. This is true seasoned astrologers writing these translations. And so what the Galactic Planner does, it takes your birth chart, calculates it. So you'll get a picture of your own chart. Now we have the North Indian style chart as well as the South Indian style chart. And once it calculates your chart, it will give you all the transits, even the moon, which happens every month. So there's a lot of repetition with the moon's transits, but it tells you which transits are rare, which ones are more common. And really, it gives you every single day of your life what day is good for what. And guess where? It's not an app. It is delivered into your calendar on your phone or
Right there, yeah.
computer. So you can have it every time you pull up your calendar to see, what appointments you have that day. You also get to see where all the transits are that day. But if you know no astrology, it tells you what it means without, it'll tell you Jupiter conjunct the sun, but it'll tell you in plain English what it means for you that day and what house it's in, what's going to be happening. So that that is something that has been my life journey to be able to make astrology accessible to everyone, because not everyone's going to be able to get a reading with me or Shri. So this is the next best thing. This
And
is
those questions, when can I travel? When can I get married? Everything. I mean, you can go into this calendar in very plain terms, in layman terms. It tells you what each day is good for, or what you need to watch out for, or how you can make the best of it. See, that was one of the things I really focused on when I was writing the dashas, because it's a long period of time. Each dasha could be maybe weeks or months or sometimes even years. And when you tell somebody, hey, this is going to be a challenging time, it is never just that, right? There's something that time is good for, that it's going to support you in. So I made sure to focus on that and tell you, hey, this is how you can make the best of this time. So it is really a gem. I mean, there's no other planner out there that does that.
Exactly. So we put our heart and soul into this. I want everyone to try it, and I think you're going to love it, because it really is, an astrologer in the palm of your hand. You can have it in your calendar. And remember, guys, my mission is to make this mainstream, and this is the tool that we all need. Because remember how I know some of you have heard this, but maybe some of you haven't. How I came into doing the planner was my son Austin would, come to me for readings every 3 months. He would always type in what days were good for what as I went through all the planetary aspects in his chart. And I told him, I said, Austin, this day you're going to meet the girl you're going to marry. And he says, Mom, I'm not interested in girls right now. I'm working on my business. That's all I want to put my focus in. So, forget that. I said, I don't care. Put it in your calendar. This is the day. So he reluctantly did. I'm not kidding you guys. He met her that day, and it was love at first sight. And what's so funny is he told her, and a lot of, all three of my sons always had to warn the women that they got involved with. By the way, my mother's an astrologer. Do you have an issue with that? And so he said, my mom's an astrologer, and she told me I was going to meet you this day. Look, and he shows her the phone where he typed it in, and yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of believers there from that. But here's the thing. He thought, wouldn't that be great, Mom, if we could do this for everyone? They could have it in their calendar. So that was the birth of the Galactic Planner.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
All right, so let's see what other questions. So yes, before we move on, in case you're interested in the Galactic Planner, you want to try it out. The website is what I was showing you just now, galacticplanner.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I don't see any major questions. Let's see. Do not want to go to the phone internet to see my daily calendar. Can you send a PDF so I can print it? Yes, there is a PDF that comes to you, and there's an option to add it to your calendar on your phone if you want to, but there is a PDF too, yes.
Yes, yes. You can print all the days out if you just want it on the PDF on a paper you can read. Exactly. So somebody was asking about a stock, Disney stock. What I want you guys to know is in our magazine, Joni Patrice Astrology Insights. And by the way, if you're part of my Patreon club, you get the magazine free amongst so many other things. So check out my Patreon on my website, galacticcenter.org. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is Shri now writes the article for the stocks that she recommends for each month. That's in the Astrology Insights magazine. And I think she does a much better job than I did. So I said, you're doing it from now on.
That's not true, Joni, but I learned from you. So, but I think that's a good idea to include Disney in our next month's magazine, now that everybody's asking about it.
Exactly. That's why I brought it to your attention. Good. All right. Okay. Anyone else have any really, really pressing questions?
And remember to sign up for the university. It's starting Feb 6th. So if you're interested, if you have any questions, you can always ask us, and we are here to help you out.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So I couldn't do the university, by the way, without Shri. She is my right-hand person, and I really and truly wouldn't still be going today if it wasn't for her. So thank you.
Thank you, Joni.
Yeah.
All right. Any thoughts on the trajectory of Canada since our PM resigned? Looking at Canada's chart, I think we looked at it earlier.
Just a chart for Canada, that would be helpful.
Yeah, right here. I mean, Jupiter will go into their 10th house.
Oh, yeah. So good things are going to be happening for Canada. I guess they needed to get rid of Trudeau.
Yeah, I think the whole resignation happened with Jupiter being retrograde on their Venus.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so the sun, Uranus, and Uranus being right there with the sun, that is sudden extreme changes within leadership.
Leadership, yeah.
Yes, but Jupiter hitting the sun, the moon, and then the sun is a big change. Maybe it could be part of the United States.
And this is during the summer because Jupiter will enter Gemini in May, and it kind of quickly goes through it till October. So I think around July, August, if I'm not mistaken, it should be at these degree marks on the moon and the Uranus and all that. So that's when there should be a major change. It should be a good change though, because Jupiter is a benefic. And then this is a 10th house, which is leadership. It will be a very unforeseen kind of outcome. I don't think anybody will be able to predict what's happening because with the Uranus there, everything about the leadership in Canada has to be a sudden thing,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's something here's what I see for this. Some good things are happening. Notice that Mars Rahu in their chart is where Mars K2 will be. Whoa, they are really in for a big shift and change.
And
And
this is July 22nd, right?
yes, incredible shifts. So, yeah, things from behind the scenes, they may have an attack there in June, July. But with Jupiter going over the sun, the moon, and Uranus in the 10th house, there's a big shift of energy there. Major new rulership. The country is going to be happy with the new rulership. I see that.
Yeah.
But something detrimental could happen in the summer.
By the time we get to October, things should have calmed down though, with all these changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, it
All
looks
right, let me
like
see.
things are going to be better for Canada. Yes. All right. What else does anybody need to know about?
All right, let's see. Can you please explain how to interpret them and reading the calendar? I'm not sure what was the question there. How to interpret the emojis? Is that what they were asking?
Do they have the calendar?
Oh, impactful, frequently impactful, slightly eventful, that stuff, the rare event and the impactful events. I think that's what they're asking about.
Yeah, the ones that are impactful are the ones that happen least frequently. Therefore, they're long range, bigger events, the more life-changing events than when the moon goes through the houses, which it charts. The
Yeah.
moon through the houses will reveal what you're feeling that day, but it's not a life-changing event as the more impactful ones are. And that involves the slower moving planets. Yeah. Is that what they meant, Sri? You
Yeah,
think?
that's what they were asking, yes.
All right, good.
Good.
Oh,
I don't see any major other questions. So it was a great session again, Joni.
yeah, good. I know. I hope you all got your questions answered and you're much better prepared now for the year of 2025. And it's going to be a great year, everyone. Yeah, a lot of highs and lows, but hey, we got to go through the tunnel to get to the other side.
Yeah.
So I
And
always
at this time, we send all our prayers and our thoughts and healing thoughts to
exactly.
California because somebody was saying earlier that they ordered an evacuation of Santa Monica. I mean, this is terrible. It's terrible.
Unbelievable what's happening right now. January, I said, was going to be a really difficult month, mainly
Yeah.
because of that Mars being a retrograde, being opposed Pluto, and this is the result.
And Jupiter still retrograde is not doing us any favors. So
Mm-mm.
yeah, we'll get through this time. I think something out of this will become exposed in California, some scam, something in the back end. It has to be because with Neptune in the mix, I don't see this as just a regular fire,
Exactly. Yeah, so something needed to come out, but oh my God, the suffering, I can't even imagine being there right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So all of our prayers, we definitely will put our prayers out to everyone in California. By the way, I contacted Danica. Danica lives very close. She did a video for me of all the smoke and flames right next
She
to her.
okay?
She said she's okay, but she's
Okay.
really close to it.
Gosh,
That's one of our students with.
students in the university, yeah.
Yeah,
We're truly like a family. We check on each other. But I hope she's okay and she stays safe.
yeah,
And yeah,
she keep me posted, but really, literally, guys, we have people in the university in every continent of the world, and what we try to do is we try to key you up with the people in your area too.
yeah.
So. Anyway, well, everyone, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And thank you again for all your great questions and everything. And let's have a good year. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon in all my YouTubes and Patreon and UBA. Okay. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Joni.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.